I've discovered something and have studied it for now 2 decades that I believe to be more important than what I'm doing in my holistic chiropractic practice. I believe my holistic chiropractic practice is an important service, and I don't really want to abandon it completely. But I I feel like what I have to do next is more important, and I need your help to do it. So let me tell you a little bit about it. I have a successful, busy chiropractic practice, and I've been doing that for nearly 10 years now. We're getting close. And I've been doing other holistic work for nearly 20 years, over 20 years now. And it's something I believe in and something I think is important to bring an option for healing, for controlling pain, and improving health to individuals that come in and can't find help anywhere else. And I specialized in being able to help those cases, figuring out how to help those cases that are difficult, the ones who I believe needed it the most. And yet, in every one of those cases, there's a common thread. They are living in a home which is not particularly healthy. It's not designed well, and the materials from which it is constructed are toxic and, frankly, unsustainable. Most of them that come in are stressed about money. They're stressed about being able to make ends meet in their lives. Some of them are struggling and have just lived in inexpensive rentals their whole lives. And the third common string is their diet is terrible. And so we have a combination of economics, environment, and diet. And that combination is what drives those people into me. I'm sure I'm not the first one. In fact, I'm sure I'm just the latest in a very long line of people who have pondered on what can we do instead of controlling the flood. Is there a way to put a dam upstream and do it in a way that helps make the world better? That's what I want to do. I want to put a dam upstream that makes the world better. Enter the house that greens the world. I know as much about this as I know about natural healing, other than with natural healing, I've applied it for 20 years with patients. But as far as the foundational knowledge, I'm well studied in it. And I can tell you that this is a very accomplishable task. We literally can make a house which makes the planet greener to have that house there. Currently, when neighborhoods are built, you end up with a chemical-rich lawn. You end up with a house that's off-gassing all kinds of terrible things, and that is just a sinkhole of resources. That need not occur. We can build the house cheaper to start with. Attached to the house that greens the world is a greenhouse that uses geothermal interface to keep it warm and cool. The light isn't just all about getting as much as you can, as much as it is controlling the light. So the quality of the plants is higher, and there's a lot less problems with bugs, a lot less problems with premature die-off of plants. They don't get overstimulated, grow and die and not produce much. There is a aquaponics tank in the greenhouse, which the fish will produce healthy water, nutrient-rich water, that is then sent to the plants to help them grow. The house itself requires very little power. Certainly, it could easily be built off the grid. Now, if you're a welder by trade or something like that, of course, you're going to need some resources. some power coming in. If you're going to have several deep freezes, of course you're going to need some power coming in. But the house itself is basically designed to function off of a very inexpensive solar system that just runs the lights, a fan, and a small pump. And literally, that will take care of all of the needs of that house. The resources going into it long term are minimal, and the house itself is producing oxygen. The amount of water used to run the house is reduced significantly. The gray water from normal showering, dishes, sinks, is used to water the plants, to keep the greenhouse green. There's a large gray water filtration system that is a green system. It literally uses plants that can tolerate sodium, and the water you get out is drinkable. You've literally recycled on site all of your gray water. There is no black water. The toilets are all built into a composting system. Now, most of this is stuff that I have put together from other people's designs over, as I said, 2 decades. But this is my design. It is a composter that you simply have, it uses an RV toilet, and then you simply have a pedal that you push, which not only flushes the toilet with very little water, but it puts it into a composter, which then slides using gravity down to an auger system, which augers it to another composter and to another composter, and then out of the house. It allows you to place toilets in multiple places, auger the waste to central locations, and then by the time it comes out of the house, several months later, it is dirt. It is dirt. We are going to use very little water in this system, a fraction of what's being used currently, and the production of the house itself will be oxygen rich. It will be highly conservationist, for water and power and fuel of any kind. The construction materials themselves initially will be mostly conventional things, not things that off-gas a lot, but a lot of concrete, metal. But ultimately, when we have the resources to do the research and the time to do the research, I expect to start building these immediately as soon as I have the funding. But we need a little bit of time to do the research. Ultimately, we're going to build the entire thing out of fired clay, which will allow us efficiency, and we will be using, to fire the clay, we'll be using a very large solar kiln built in desert areas where we can fire the clay basically for free. Once the setup is developed, we'll be able to do it for free. Or at least we will be doing it much cheaper and much less energy intensively than anybody else is doing anything that we're building houses out of. We'll be able to build the house very quickly. In fact, even with the current starting design, we'll be able to build the house and greenhouse very quickly. Any climate will do. We have adaptations for very cold climates and very warm climates. The only places you won't be able to make it work would be places where either there is no water available, then you still could, you would just have to truck the water in, or places where for large chunks of the year there is no sun available. And once again, even then you can do it. You're just going to have to put in LED grow lights, things that will allow you to continue to grow the food year round, but you will lack the solar gain. So there's going to be some additional heat needed to make the whole thing work. But we're talking very small portions of the population would have to adapt the design to make it work for them. Everybody else will be able to use it. This is phase 1. And I'm including in phase one, even though it's kind of a phase two, the development of the terracotta or fired clay or ceramic style house, where we just bring in walls already constructed that interlock together, put them together. It's something totally naturally occurring and a resource which we have in great abundance, and which can be, ground up and turned back into clay and run through again with time or with resources. Phase two is to build neighborhoods. Now the goal here, this house design, I'm not finished with phase one. The house design will actually produce all of the food necessary to feed a family of up to 5, 365 days a year. All of the food you would need, and will produce in excess of that most of the year, enough to feed 5 other families. Now what that means is that we can take the surplus and sell it and make the house payment. So we can take people who have limited resources, who are impoverished, and we can put them in this situation, and with approximately an hour a day work. Now, most of the time it's going to be 20 minutes a day, but then every so often you're going to have a day when it's 3 or 4 hours. But with approximately an hour a day work average, we can produce food to feed the family that's very healthy. This is all systemized. This is all turnkey, organic, high quality, no chemicals, no junk, just very high quality soil producing very high quality plants. And now these can be consumed by the family and they will be healthier and can be sold to surrounding neighborhoods and people nearby. A few of them, for every house that's built like this, a few of the people nearby can get all of their food locally. Literally, they can walk to get their food. We don't have to truck it in, right? And so this becomes a model that can be built again and again and again. And people who are just enthusiastic, I don't need to make that money to make my mortgage payment, but I'm an enthusiast. We would absolutely do it. It would be great chores for my children. It would be higher quality food for me. And it would be stable food. If something happened, I couldn't work, I could still eat, and healthy food, right? Healthier than I'm eating now. That's cool. I think that's cool. I think it's important. I think it's crazy that we aren't building a house or two like this in every neighborhood in the country, right? And of course, major cities, there may be some complications with this, but if you build the house or the neighborhood outside the city, at least you have a very short distance to transport that food to get it into the city where you can help feed people locally. And again, we're talking about a very small chunk of land. We're talking about a house that's large enough to be a standard American house for a family, but small enough to fit on 1/4 of an acre. If it came to that, if you're doing standard lot sizes, you can put this house anywhere, right? Where regulations allow, right? Now, phase two is where we build neighborhoods. Now, the beauty, this is a designed neighborhood where we use intensive grazing to green the surrounding area. Now, if you don't know about intensive grazing, first of all, it's so exciting. You should learn about it. This is the most useful, rapid fire approach to greening up the areas of our planet that are not green. We can literally change the entire climate of the planet for the better using intensive grazing, and we get a net gain. We don't get any loss out of it, right? Now, the current model of growing animals is grazing animals, ruminators, is to basically put them in feedlots, right? And of course, many people don't do that. Many animals are free range, and free range animals do green the planet. Don't let anybody lie to you They do green the planet. The only time animal production makes the planet sicker is when you've got these huge feedlots. There's no green. In fact, they're killing the land. There's so much waste. The animals themselves aren't healthy. The people eating them aren't healthy. And the planet is damaged by them. That's a real problem, and it's a real thing. But the true free-range animals, they green the planet. They make it healthier. Don't let anybody lie to you. Okay, there are lots of people out there with like an anti-animal agenda. I don't know what's wrong with them. Don't let them lie to you. They green the planet. Okay, but intensive grazing is a step better. This is where the animals come in and do what buffalo herds did across America, right? What herds would do if they were allowed to do it naturally. They come in, they stomp down, crush everything, they eat it all down to about this tall, and then they leave. And however much grass is there, that's what they consume, and then they leave. And it creates this rich, deeper, heavier built microbiome of the soil, and that holds moisture. And it causes plants to grow better. So even after 1 year of doing this, as soon as the plants get back to normal height, you intensively graze it again. And you graze it off, and then you move them as soon as it gets down to a certain height. And even in 1 year, an area that just looked like desert, looked like it was just dying off, without watering it. We're not watering this land, right? We're only providing enough water for the animals themselves to drink. That's it. The land itself doesn't get watered, right? Free-range land doesn't get watered either. And just free-range grazing does, if it's true free-range, right? I don't mean I've let the chickens out for 1 day, right? I mean true free-range grazing, where they're actually out on the range, does do this a little at a time, but not very effectively. But when it's intensive grazing, it's amazing. It's so effective. The planet, the area they graze will just turn rich and green. The trees get greener and lusher. The grass proliferates prodigiously, like 10, 20 times as much grass, even in a short period of time. And literally, that gradually changes. If you get it on the edge of the desert where nothing grows, you gradually encroach into the desert and you make the planet greener. You want to stabilize the climate. This is the way to do it. That's phase 2. Now, phase 2, I hope phase 1 will pay for. If not, I'll be back here asking for more money for phase 2. Phase 1 is going to require some things, including me working less, some land that's appropriate to build it on, and some enough resources that I can have a few prototypes to figure out what works best in all the details. It can be done in a year. In fact, it can be done in 6 months if I have the $500,000 to start with. And that's what I'm asking for. That's what I want. Let me help this planet. Let me help everybody be healthier. I need your resources to do it. Thank you for at least considering it, looking at this crazy chiropractor talking to you out of Wyoming. Thank you for taking a few minutes. I hope you can help me. Thank you.